Hogan, may I present Colonel Crittenden of the Royal Air Force?
Suppose you were in a camp that specialized in helping other people out of Germany.
Jolly good. Jerry knows he's got us in a box, which means a bad show all round.
Bad show.
Definitely, old boys. Good show.
You're a disgrace to the British uniform.
Right, sir.
Howdy folks, and welcome once again to the Spaghetti Theater for the Spaghetti Theater Review. Oh, and my apologies for any audio issues there may be. I do this when I can, between work and actual life itself. And I'm also not an audio recording expert by any means. Clearly, but I will try to work on it. Some folks complained in the comments section. And I get it, I agree. Anyway, this time I'm reviewing another TV show for the very first time. It's Hogan's Heroes, everybody! But before I talk about the episode itself, I want to talk a little bit about the show itself, Hogan's Heroes. So yeah, I'm going to go on about Hogan's Heroes, the show, for about 7 minutes. It's all about a prisoner of war camp in Germany during World War II. And it's wacky! Yeah, Hogan's Heroes is the slapstick version of Billy Wilder's classic Stalag 17, even though the producers of the show claim that was never the intention, and that it's merely a coincidence, and just similar to Stalag 17. A far more serious but sometimes comical look at prisoner of war life during World War II. I reviewed Stalag 17 a ways back, so feel free to give it a ganders. It's a perfect movie, in my opinion of course. So Hogan's Heroes, starring Bob Crane as the title character, Colonel Hogan. And I'm sure most people know the life and sad ending of him, so I won't even get into that. Go watch the movie Autofocus with Greg Kinnear, if that's what you're interested in. It wasn't that bad. Anyway, there's also Werner Kempler.
Klemper-er? I guess.
As the camp's bumbling doof of a commandant, Colonel Klink. He's classic, with his monocle and shit that the actor Werner Kempler kept his entire life as a souvenir until somebody stole it one day from him when he went to go take a leak at a restaurant. True story. He told it on the Pat Sajak show, I believe.
So you had the monocle until
Had
just
the moniker
short...
with me. I had it in a little cloth case. I kept it in my valise, and I just loved having it.
Yeah, and now it's gone.
Somebody swiped it, and it is gone. 2 weeks ago it happened, and
Now,
I feel like a lost soul.
Have you had bad luck since?
No, but I expect to any time.
And of course, who could forget his awful at his job sergeant, Schultz. Just like in Stalag 17. Only far less competent of a German sergeant. He might as well be one of Hogan's heroes too. But at least he has a memorable catchphrase that people know even if they've never even seen the damn show. I know nothing.
I know nothing.
As a fan of this show, which, as I pointed out in my Columbo review, with the bad audio and obnoxiously loud background music, I have every episode on glorious DVD, folks! Ding! I do have a few particular favorite episodes, of course, and for some reason, when I think of Hogan's Heroes, and its many memorable, reoccurring here and there characters, the first one that comes to mind, for me, is Colonel Crittenden. I love this guy. And why? Well, it's all due to the performance of the actor playing the part, of course. The great English actor, Bernard Fox, or Bernard Fox, however you want to say it. I say Bernard. I've heard it said both ways. He's best known for playing Dr. Bombay on like 19 episodes of Bewitched, 2 episodes of its failed follow-up, Tabitha, and then once more, decades later, in 1999, in some show called Passions. Never heard of it. But he also appeared on Hogan's Heroes 8 times as Colonel Crittenden, the by-the-book colonel, who's always very confident in his ways, and not interested at all in using Stalag 13 as some sort of underground for helping people escape out of Germany. That's stupid. Not by the book enough.
It's the duty of every prisoner of war to make the utmost effort to escape and rejoin his own national forces.
Not a good show, old boy.
Bad show all round.
He's all about escape.
I myself have made 11 attempts.
Like in The Great Escape, another awesome movie which I love dearly. I know, I don't have a conventional life. It's all about freedom, movies, and TV. And maybe growing potatoes. And weed, too.
Bad show all round.
Oh well. And Bernard Fox is just great in this role. He steals the show.
Good show.
So I went with his first appearance ever, naturally. And that was only the 5th episode of the show itself. So they wasted no time introducing this classic character, who they love so much, they brought him back 7 more times. So here he is, in his first appearance in the episode titled, The Flight of the Valkyrie. Yeah, like in that piece of music from Apocalypse Now. Don't you love the smell of napalm in the morning? So boom, the smell of victory, folks! It's Hogan's Heroes, and these are the heroes. Hogan you know, but don't forget about Newkirk and his deck of cards, played by the same guy who hosted Family Feud in the 80s, and tried to have Arnold Schwarzenegger killed in The Running Man. It's English actor Richard Dawson, who, by the Family Feud, lost his English accent. He was overexposed to Americans, I guess. Then there's LeBeau, the weakest of the heroes in my opinion. He's the French guy, I guess, because of that hat and scarf deal. And his accent. He cooks too, I guess. He's a chef. And who could forget about their token black guy, Kinch, played by Ivan Dixon. Their communications guy, the technical one. And of course the one everyone forgets, Carter, fucking around with science. He must be the smart one, only nope. Those are our heroes, folks. All prisoners at Stalag 13, even though they have constructed their own underground beneath the camp. That allows them to come and go as they please. And believe me, they do. It's the perfect cover for what they're doing. No one would expect a prisoner of war camp as the center of an underground that helps undesirables escape from Nazi Germany. Meaning they too could escape at any time. Only don't do it for the greater good. And that's why they're the heroes, folks. It probably couldn't happen in real life, and a lot of it makes no sense and defies all logic. But that's the friggin' point. To be able to take the horrors of war and POW life reality and twist it into a TV comedy. So on with the show.
CBS presents this program in color.
In glorious color. We must be at Grandma's house. She's the only one who has a color TV. What a treat. So here we are at Stalag 13 at night as this delivery truck pulls in and delivers this lady's legs to Stalag 13 via the dog house entrance. Useless dogs. You're as bad as Schultz. They were probably trained by him.
I know nothing. Nothing.
So, once underground, she gets to meet the great, irresistible to all woman, Colonel Hogan. I guess. He looks like a regular guy to me. But chicks dig him anyway, because of his hat and leather jacket and overconfidence. Never totally understood why. I always thought he had about as much sex appeal as Jimmy Kimmel. Must be his overconfidence. So this lady is called the Baroness, or her actual name, Lily von Schlichter. I think I said that right. She's a German who wants to defect and supply the enemy with information that she's gathered up from her years as a Baroness.
All Germany is looking for me.
So she's hoping that Colonel Hogan can sneak her out of Germany somehow with his underground connections, which he can and already has a plan.
My picture and description are everywhere.
That's why you're going by plane, so we're building one.
He's gonna build a plane and fly her ass out of there. Yeah.
You are joking.
Well, okay. Why the hell not? MacGyver did it.
Even free, it would take months.
It would take months, huh? MacGyver did it in one afternoon. By himself. With whatever random shit happened to be lying around. Which is a bunch of shit, I know. Unless you're MacGyver. He's better than all of us. Just deal with it. Hogan then gets the news that Colonel Klink is looking for him. So he's forced to leave and go deal with that shit. As a worried Baroness wonders if she's even safe down here. Which LeBeau assures her,
Not if I can help it.
forget it, LeBeau. You have no chance with her. Now that she's seen the great Colonel Hogan, sexiest man alive. And what does that mean anyway, LeBeau?
I will be safe here.
Not if I can help it.
That she's not safe with you? What do you got in mind, LeBeau? You perv. Oh. So cut to Klink's office, so we can see what the fuck he wants with Colonel Hogan. But first things first, Clink has to tell Hogan this bad, unfunny joke he heard.
I want to tell you a very funny joke.
Chances are I've heard it.
You will sit there and you will enjoy it.
But don't forget the punchline, because it comes back later in the episode.
One tout was telling the other about meeting a very rich man at the racetrack. The tout told him to bet on 8 losers in a row. Did you meet him? The first tout asked. What do you think the second tout answered? I had to lose him. He was bad luck.
Clink then goes on about all the strange happenings that have been happening in this area since Hogan's arrival. Like, for example, how a plane was shot down last night, and its pilot was seen parachuting safely back to Earth. Only when they went out to retrieve the two, they had vanished somehow.
The next morning, we didn't even find an aeroplane.
Well, that explains how they're gonna build a plane. They're not gonna build a plane. They already have one. Pilot and all. Then there's that Baroness traitor who defected. She's a wanted fugitive now.
All Germany is looking for me.
And she was last spotted heading in the direction of Stalag 13. And of course, along with whatever shit happened in the last 4 episodes.
Tanks disappear and end up in the recreation hall. Trains are blowing up.
Like Colonel Clink's desk cigars always vanishing somehow.
Out of a locked humidor, my cigars vanish.
Colonel Clink has decided that Colonel Hogan is simply bad luck.
You are bad luck.
And has to lose him.
I shall have to lose you.
So that's why he told that stupid joke. But don't worry, folks, they're not done with it yet. Anyway, Colonel Clink has to come up with a solution to knock Colonel Hogan down a peg. So enter Colonel Crittenden. Great Bernard Fox, or Bernard, but I'm gonna say Bernard. The great Bernard Fox. He has this great laugh too. Only sadly he doesn't do it in this episode. He does it more on Bewitched. Ha 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 ha. Something like that.
That's what you wear when you play golf?
It is when I'm playing around with my nurse. Get it? Around with it.
So this is Colonel Crittenden of the Royal Air Force, who Colonel Clink has transferred here from Stalag 18. So he's already a prisoner. And why did he do this? Well, Colonel Crittenden has been colonelling for 12 years longer than Colonel Hogan, meaning he outranks him, which makes him the senior POW officer now, and not Hogan.
I guess he has about 10 years on me.
12, actually.
Makes him senior prisoner of war officer. Nice going, Clink.
This could be a problem for them, unless Crittenden is down with the whole underground thing, but tough shit either way, because he's the new Colonel Hogan now. And you better get used to things that he holds dear, like doing calisthenics.
I'll pop in on you in the morning to take over, right after calisthenics.
We don't do calisthenics.
And going on parade. Yeah.
Right after morning parade, then.
We don't parade either.
Very Englishy of him. So you're out, Hogan. It was a good 4-episode run, but it's Crittenden's Heroes from now on.
Good shout! Quite a bit of shaking up to do, what?
And to rub this in Hogan's face, Colonel Clink offers him one of his cherished cigars.
If I can't steal them honestly, I don't want them.
So cut back to the Heroes Barracks as Colonel Hogan clears his crap out of the senior POW's office as they try to figure out what to do now. And in this scene, in a rare instance, you can see Carter's bare hand wearing a wedding ring, even though the character of Carter isn't married. They tried to hide this the best they could throughout the series. You'll notice that he always wears gloves most of the time, since the actor Larry Hovis refused to take it off. Fun fact, everybody! So yeah, what to do about the Colonel Crittenden situation? Do we just escape for real now that the gig is up?
Why don't we all escape, right? That's a great idea.
Hogan won't have that, since they still have that Baroness underground to deal with. Perhaps you could cut Crittenden in on this shit. They don't really know where he stands yet when... Enter the man himself, to put all your questions to rest. As Crittenden comes busting in, all Bernard Fox-like, Hogan introduces him to his heroes, only he don't care. He'll pick his own damn heroes.
Introduce you to my staff.
No need for that, old boy. Nothing against these fellows at all, but of course I'll choose my own.
Since he doesn't like the fact that no one around here does their calisthenics or goes on parade every morning, these are very important things to Colonel Crittenden. So get used to it.
Jolly good.
I just love his rant here.
No calisthenics, which means flabby bodies, which means flabby minds, which means a flabby camp.
Flabby bodies, flabby minds, and a flabby camp. Camp Flabby.
No parades, which means low morale, which means Jerry knows he's got us in a box, which means a bad show all round.
The Jerrys know they have us in a box, so it's bad show all around. Well said, Bernard Fox. or Colonel Crittenden.
Bad show.
I get his point though, even with all his Englishy terms like calling people chaps, or old boy. I like that one though. Old boy? Good God, old boy.
Bad show.
Terrible.
And Crittenden's even more disturbed at the fact that there's been 0 successful escape attempts from this camp, since their duty as officers is to escape. At least in any normal prisoner of war situation it would. Like in The Great Escape, or Stalag 17, Colonel Crittenden even brags about his 11 failed escape attempts.
I myself have made 11 attempts. Caught every time.
So maybe he's not exactly Charles Bronson or James Coburn when it comes to escaping himself, but it's the effort that counts, I guess. Because he already wants to start digging a tunnel immediately, and recruits Carter and Newkirk, and even scolds Newkirk for being a bit too flabby, when he's not really.
Bit flabby?
If anybody's a bit flabby, it's you, Crittenden. But no matter, his status as an Englishman is good enough for him.
But you're English, we'll take it.
Could be Jack the Ripper, who cares? Hogan then asked Crittenden, let's say, for shits and giggles, hypothetically speaking, Crittenden,
And let me put a hypothetical case to you.
that there was a barracks using this prisoner of war camp as an underground for, oh, I don't know, helping people escape Germany, even German defectors themselves. And would you be on board with something like that, Crittenden, old boy? Basically, do you want to be a Hogan's hero, sneaking in and out of the camp every night and going on little adventures?
But that would be spying.
Crittenden's answer, no, of course.
I would hand over any information I had to the German camp commander.
He's too by the book, and not down with all this undercover spy shit.
Which would be definitely bad form for prisoners of war.
And would report all of it to the camp's commandant, since it's all very bad show.
Bad show.
Terrible.
Well, at least he's honest. But I guess he can't be a Hogan's hero then. So he leaves with his new, forced recruits. And now that he's gone, Hogan can make fun of him.
Bad show.
Easy, Hogan. That's Bernard Fox you're dumping on. Even if he is gonna fuck up your little Goldilocks and the Three Bears operation. So cut to the camp's underground with the Baroness, where Colonel Hogan explains his escape plan to her. She'll fly out of here with the pilot. That easy. This ace, sleazy Bill Paxton. A plan she is not so sure of. She still can't figure out how they got the plane into the underground in the first place. Which is a good question that they don't ever actually explain.
How you got it in, I can almost believe, because it is here.
So it's up to you, the viewer at home, to decide. Cause they sure couldn't. All that matters is that the plane is here now, and being repaired so it's suitable for takeoff. It did crash after all. Where they found the parts to repair it, probably just drove into town and bought it. Or, I don't know, James Garner scrounged them up for him, I guess. But after seeing this impressive display, the Baroness is glad Colonel Hogan is in charge, when he's kind enough to point out that he no longer is.
Well, actually, I'm not in charge. That would be Colonel Crittenden.
Crittenden is the new colonel in charge, so go thank his jolly ass.
Jolly good.
After he's done digging tunnels with Carter and Newkirk, of course. So let's cut to those two goofballs and check in on their progress in the tunnel, where all they do is bitch about Crittenden and share a cigarette in this small enclosed space with very little air. So cut back to the underground, where the sound of their tunnel digging can be heard through the wall.
Digging? Sounds like it.
Hogan immediately suspects Crittenden and his new recruits.
Is it one of them?
Worse, I think it's one of us.
Which is not good, because if Crittenden discovers this place, he'll immediately report it to Clink. Because, you know, it's a bad show, old boy. Very bad show.
Bad show.
Terrible.
So they all putter around, arguing about what the best thing to do is. Only too late. Colonel Crittenden has busted through the wall and discovered your little underground operation. So no more time to think or play it cool, because Colonel Hogan just drops a wrench on his head. Screw that, I guess. Knocking him out cold and giving him possible brain damage. Bad show, old boy. So cut to later on, as Crittenden gets his head bandaged up. So he's fine, I guess. It's TV. MacGyver and Jim Rockford got bonked on the head every other episode, if not more, and would bounce back from amnesia just like that. Brain damage too. It's TV. You can do what you want. It's not a logical show to begin with.
How are we feeling? Better?
So Colonel Hogan checks in on this shit to see how Colonel Crittenden is doing, since he's the one who did it. But Carter and Newkirk try to convince him that the tunnel caved in, and that's how he got knocked out, and they had to drag his ass out of there, which he can't remember a thing about.
I can't remember a thing about the cave-in.
Since, as we know, it didn't even happen that way. However, he does remember stumbling across that room, with not only a full-fledged plane in it, but a woman too. And being sort of gullible and willing to believe whatever bullshit he's told.
Delusions? I've heard of that in Cadence. It's like the man dying of thirst in the desert. Keeps seeing mirages of water holes.
Colonel Hogan is able to convince him it was all a mirage, since he is a pilot for the Royal Air Force after all.
Symbol of freedom for a flyer.
Oh, yes, of course.
And as for the woman, well...
Colonel, imagine it's been quite some time.
It's wartime, and Colonel Crittenden hasn't been laid in a while. So he's seeing mediocre-looking women, too, I guess. Can't you just picture Colonel Crittenden getting laid? I think it would sound a little something like this. Very good, very good, very good, very good, very good. Almost, almost. Good job, old girl.
I dropped it making a pass at her.
I'm disgusting, I know.
And Dora caught me clowning around with my nurse.
Colonel Hogan tries to convince him to stop digging tunnels and rest for a while, which he refuses to do.
Blast it all, Hogan. I can't sit here for weeks doing nothing.
He's a go-go kind of guy.
Our duty is to escape, escape, escape.
Obsessed with things like calisthenics and going on parade every morning to boost your morale, and then failing at escaping from a POW camp again and again and again. It's his thing. It's what makes him Colonel Crittenden.
Caught every time.
He's a nutter, but a decent guy at the same time. I do like him. Crittenden then points out the possibility of escaping through the barbed wire fence since it's so close to the woods.
Funny, I've never noticed.
Someone could create a diversion while he cuts his way through the wire.
All we need is someone to create a diversion while we cut the wire and run for it.
And makes a run for it. Well thought out plan. Hogan then suggests that they use their kettle drum orchestra
We got some Red Cross instruments for an orchestra,
that they conveniently have on hand to divert their attention away.
but we had to give it up. They were all kettle drums.
Which Crittenden likes so much that he demands that they play The Ride of the Valkyries.
Well, the Ride of the Valkyries, you know. Well, Germans love Wagner anyway.
Thus the title of the episode. Almost. Colonel Hogan then asks Colonel Crittenden to go ask Colonel Clink to get him a big tent so they can put their orchestra inside of it and perform in there.
Went to Clink in a couple of days and asked for a big tent.
A place to do their kettle drumming so we can get this Crittenden plan moving along. Clearly Hogan's up to something.
Couple of days? Huh. I'll do it now.
Crittenden's even willing to take Carter and Newkirk with him on his escape, which they are forced to agree to pretty much.
Take you chaps with me, of course.
Thank you, sir.
However, Hogan elects to stay behind since he's so into kettle drumming.
And leave the orchestra? Never seen me play kettle drums.
And a fun fact about Bob Crane. He really did play the drums. He even did the drums heard in the TV show's opening theme song. At least that's what I read. Way to go, Bob Crane, you kettle drumming sexual deviant you. So cut to later, as Hogan, plays the kettle drums. Practices his kettle drumming. So he's not just pretending to kettle drum here, people. This is the real deal. Bob Crane, actor, sexual deviant, American patriot, kettle drummer. Rest in peace, Bob Crane. I don't judge you, I just joke around. Then enter good old awful at his job because he never saw a thing, Sergeant Schultz, everyone.
I know nothing. Nothing.
And he's so concerned about how his fat German family will live without his support that when he discovered that German female defector, the Baroness, just wandering around the camp like it was nobody's business, instead of doing his job and bringing this woman straight to Colonel Clink, he brings her to Colonel Hogan instead. He's clearly working for the other side, or he's just a big dumb pussy. He just wants to go on pretending to know nothing.
I know nothing. Nothing.
His catchphrase, which he does not say in this episode, sadly. So once he bails to avoid getting more involved with his work, Hogan wants to know why that dumb Baroness decided to go for a stroll through a prisoner of war camp filled with German soldiers when you're supposed to be hiding out. And she gives him a sob story about being afraid of the underground, since that's where her German captors kept her.
The Gestapo put me in a cell underground.
And now she's traumatized and has a phobia. Boo-hoo. We're trying to help you, Lady Baroness. Don't blow this for us or it's Coitons for the heroes. So Colonel Hogan's about to return her to the underground when guess who comes busting on in? Good old Colonel Crittenden. Baroness acts fast and hides her face from him and puts on Colonel Hogan's iconic hat. You lucky little traitor, you. It belongs in a museum, and I think it might actually be in one. Colonel Crittenden's here to tell Colonel Hogan that Colonel Clink went for the whole kettle drum orchestra thing and agreed to that big ass tent.
For it like a ton of...
He then starts to notice that this supposed corporal with his back to him has quite the womanly figure, which Crittenden just has to comment on.
You sure this corporal's alright?
When Hogan, like an idiot, slips up and refers to the corporal wearing his hat as a she.
She's more than all right. She's a he.
Crittenden then figures it all out and is even more shocked when he finds out that she's that baroness that they've been looking for, which he points out to Hogan is something they could all be shot for.
Don't you know we could all be shot if we're even found with her?
But Hogan doesn't care because he's all about the risk factor.
Of course, there's a little risk involved.
That's why it's Hogan's Heroes, and not this guy in the background's heroes. And it's a wacky comedy, so usually no one dies. No one important anyway. Only Crittenden is by the book, so unfortunately...
I regret I shall have to turn you in.
He's gonna turn this Baroness bitch into Colonel Clink. Cause it's good for him, Jack, good for him. So Hogan tries to stop him, only the Baroness herself intervenes, since she is the primary problem here. And she manages to convince the old boy to give her 24 hours.
24 hours?
Before he blows the whistle on it, simply by pointing out why he should be more reasonable.
But as one who is fighting for the same cause, who is fighting for honor to return to our country.
And he was. So again, Crittenden's not a total shit. He's just not a Hogan's hero. Crittenden then points out the striking resemblance between the Baroness and the woman he thought he saw in that tunnel cave-in hallucination.
It's remarkably similar to the girl I saw in my hallucination.
Cause sometimes Colonel Crittenden's an idiot. It is her, Crittenden. Figure it out. Put two and two together, old boy, and you'll see that Colonel Hogan is blowing smoke up your ass. Ha 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 ha. So cut to Colonel Clink's office with Helga number 1, his hut secretary, as he listens to the prisoners' orchestra play The Ride of the Valkyries and loves the shit out of it. That makes sense. It's a very war-related song.
How well they play, these prisoners.
He even makes a pass at Helga, only fat chance, Baldy. What woman would want you after seeing the irresistible Colonel Hogan with his sort of regular look? I guess. He'd be a lot less cocky if it was a real POW camp. So cut to Sergeant Schultz as he patrols past that giant tent and also enjoys their rendition of The Ride of the Valkyries. He enjoys it so much that he dances his way right into the tent to discover everything. Their entire plan blown. The Germans now know there is no kettle drum orchestra. It's just Kinch playing a record. And the tent was just to hide that big ass plane that the Baroness and the pilot are about to fly away on. Great. And all the magic it must have taken to get that plane from the underground to inside that tent. And they even got LeBeau painting a mural on the side. Nice work, LeBeau. I'll give you credit for that one. Now go make me a tasty meal. Oh wait, this is Sergeant... I don't care if we lose the war because Hitler sucks, Schultz. They're gonna be just fine. Hell, he'll probably start the engine for him. After he's done crying about who's gonna feed his big fat Schultzy family, after he's executed for this.
Did I tell you I'm the sole provider? You should see how they can eat, please.
You could just go tell Clink right now. Only no. So Hogan just dumps all the blame for this on Colonel Crittenden, of course. So cut to Crittenden, who's all set to go through with his escape by cutting through the fence and making a run for it. Great plan. And, as promised, is bringing Carter and Newkirk along too. Then, once Ride of the Valkyrie starts to play, Crittenden goes to cut the fence. Only, clearly Carter and Newkirk know this isn't going to work out for Crittenden.
I'd love to see his face when he cuts that wire.
That's what I timber.
Go back to Colonel Hogan in the tent as the Baroness gives him a big hot kiss goodbye. Because, once again, Colonel Hogan is the most desirable man of World War II. I guess. I still think that William Holden as J.J. Sefton was way more cool. Then back to Crittenden, who cuts the wire, as Carter and Newkirk wait for it, and the whole dang fence falls down when he cuts it. I guess they somehow set it up to do that. I guess. So he makes a run for it anyway, right as the plane is released from the tent. And Colonel Clink can hear it now, so he comes running outside to see what the fuck's going on now. Then back to Crittenden, who's trying to get Carter and Newkirk to come along with him, when they decide to get all technical with him. Since he's now on the other side of the fence, that makes Colonel Hogan the senior POW officer in charge again.
Begging your pardon, Colonel, you're outside the camp now. That makes Colonel Hogan the senior officer.
And he would much rather have them stay here. Or we have no show, dipshit.
And he prefers us to stay.
That's when Crittenden says that Newkirk is a disgrace to the British uniform. And I just love Newkirk's response.
You're a disgrace to the British uniform.
Right, sir.
A simple, right, sir, and salute. Only you better run now, Crittenden, because that plane's getting ready to take off and you're in its path.
You're in the middle of a landing strip.
Just as Clink goes running up to it, and simply does one of his classic, shakes his fist at it, demanding it to halt, which you know it won't. No one takes you seriously, Clink, not even that pilot we never got to meet. This used car salesman. And another fun fact, folks, he's no actor. He's a real pilot named Frank Tallman, and did a lot of pilot work for film and television. Most notably, he flew the plane through that billboard in the movie It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World. Did I say enough mads? I don't know. So Clink orders Schultz to open fire on the plane, who instead does like this wacky shit. I swear he did that on purpose, just because he didn't want to. He wants them to get away. And they do. The plane flies safely away with the Baroness on board. So then Hogan, Kinch, and LeBeau wave goodbye. So success, I guess. Cut to later in Clink's office, as he demands an explanation from Colonel Hogan about what the fuck just happened out there, man. And don't give me any of that, what are you talking about shit? Fake orchestras, planes taking off, fences falling down. And as for Colonel Crittenden, well, he was apparently captured immediately and thrown in the cooler. So that's failed attempt number 12 for him.
Colonel Crittenden is in the cooler for attempted escape.
Way to go, Crittenden.
Bad joke.
So Colonel Hogan even dumps all the blame for that on him too, since he was the senior POW officer in charge. And with an escape-happy guy like Colonel Crittenden around, why, that could ruin Clink's record of no successful escapes from Stalag 13, except for that pilot and the Baroness, who were never even prisoners to begin with. So the record is still good.
Not a single escape. We did make quite a team.
It's only episode 5 though. But Crittenden is too much of a risk. So Colonel Clink is having him sent back to Stalag 18, his former home.
Transfer Colonel Crittenden back to Stalag 18 at once.
Colonel Clink then asks Colonel Hogan one final question, before lights out, folks. And that's whether or not Crittenden was responsible for that plane shit.
Was it really Colonel Crittenden who was responsible for yesterday?
Hogan's answer?
We had to lose him. He was bad luck.
He was bad luck, so we had to lose him. Ha! Get it? The punchline to Clink's dumb joke from the beginning of the episode.
I had to lose him. He was bad luck.
I told you it would be back, and so we've come full circle. The two enjoy a good laugh because they're actually good friends, apparently. Maybe. And the episode is over. That's all, folks. The first appearance of Colonel Crittenden on Hogan's Heroes, The Flight of the Valkyrie, which leads me right into my final thoughts on this episode. I love Bernard Fox as an actor. He's always so delightful and entertaining.
You dressed like that for a maternity case?
What maternity case? I was delivering them to my apartment for a little nightcap.
He lived from 1927 to 2016. And besides Bewitched and Hogan's Heroes, he was also on 3 episodes of The Andy Griffith Show as Malcolm Merriweather. And much later in life he would appear in James Cameron's Titanic and the Brendan Fraser Mummy movie. But he was great as Colonel Crittenden of the Royal Air Force, which I read is not even a real thing in the Royal Air Force after 1919. Apparently the rank of colonel in the Royal Air Force is just group captain, a term American audiences weren't familiar with, I guess. Plus the US Air Force itself wouldn't exist until 1947. Prior to that, they were just part of the Army. Fun facts about real life that they overlooked on Hogan's Heroes, folks. Werner Klemperer here, when he did this episode, was 45 years old. Same age I am right now. I feel like he looks a lot older. I know, because he's bald, right? Plus back then people, you know, their healthcare was different. And he lived harder. I mean, like, his actual life was harder. He actually escaped from real-life Germany during World War II. It's a real fact, look it up. And the final neat-ass fact that I wanted to point out about this episode was this actress who played Lily von Schlichter, the Baroness. She did a few other things, but most notably to me was that she was the lady wearing that fur coat that came to life in Ghostbusters 2. That is neat. So a big thanks again to all my subscribers, watchers, and leavers of comments. So thanks again. I enjoy making these. I just wish I didn't have to work so much. Then I could do more and put more time into it. So adios, folks. Until next time, I'll see you at the theater.
Hear the drummer get wicked.
Endora caught me clowning around with my nurse. Clowning around.
Bad show all round.
Bad show?
Terrible.